Welcome to Talking SANFL, your weekly show all about the SANFL. My name's Paul Bonds, alongside me, Andrew Hayes. Hazy, welcome to Talking SANFL again.
Bonds, thanks for having me, mates. Of course, filling in for the great Matt Knight, who's not with us today. He'll be back next week. But this suits you very nicely, this jumper, and you're filling it out quite effortlessly.
Nice little logo there. It's beautiful. No, great to be here and filling in for Nida, and I'm sure we will see him again before the season's out. We can't do this without support of our great sponsors, I Perform Sports Injury Clinic.
Indeed, the folks down there, Brad Bain in particular, so they do such good work. I Perform Sports Injury Clinic, big supporters of the show, so we thank them each and every week.
Fantastic. Let's have a look at the reserves scores over the weekend. Firstly, Norwood had a win over West Adelaide, 102-87. And North Adelaide, 100 over the Panthers, 42. Panthers struggling a little bit, both in the league and reserves. It's a bit unusual.
A bit of a surprising start to the year for South Adelaide. I know a lot of people, including myself, had them tipped to absolutely be inside the top three and push for a premiership. And obviously we know it starts so much in the reserves, but they'll find their feet, no doubt. The rounds are still early. This was a pretty unbelievable result, the next game, and that is the Central District's going down to Sturt 30-90, given there was around about 10 people from Sturt who were missing due to COVID.
Yes, amazing result to get a 10-goal win, especially out at Elizabeth as well, at Ex-Convenience Oval. And then a really good game of footy yesterday, the Eagles just getting over the Bays at Montine Care Oval.
And we'll talk about the league result very soon, because that was just an outstanding way to finish what was a really, really good round of league footy. Anzac round is always just fantastic in any format to play football on such a special day, but both the Bays and the Eagles really, really did the round service yesterday.
Yeah, it was great. And the thing I like about watching reserves footy is just the young kids, the youth. You see them running around and they just go hell for leather. It's just great footy.
Absolutely it is, and especially seeing some of the yards go through and I suppose play with no fear.
That's it.
You're still playing on instinct, and could possibly be frustrating for coaches sometimes, but it's good seeing the rawness come through at a reserves level.
Let's go straight on to the league. A big weekend, Anzac weekend obviously, spread across not just Adelaide but over to Port Lincoln, and I made the trip over there and it was a little hectic on the way back, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And then obviously the grand final replay yesterday. But let's start at the top, North Adelaide and South. And North Adelaide defeated South 59-48, but South went the whole first half without kicking a goal.
It's quite extraordinary, isn't it? I think we can safely say now that there's still probably some question marks on South Adelaide exactly where they are at. Of course, they've got a Magarey medalist who's still doing some very good things, but North Adelaide are absolutely the real deal, and their best footy is just so fun to watch. In my opinion as well, they should be this good. When you've got guys like Harrison, racking them up, Aaron Young, Andrew Moore, those types of blokes. You've got two blokes inside the top three leading disposal getters in the competition, that is Wigg and Young. Alongside that as well, Mitch Harvey's doing some very good things in the ruck. And when you get up to the likes of Keenan Ramsey, the talent's there and they're really putting it together. And we know that they're well coached.
They are well coached, and I guess some people thought that North might drop off a little bit this season, and I think straight away after 4 rounds, it's not going to be the case.
Well, they were charging towards the end of last season. They, of course, just ran out of rounds to get themselves a last sort of minute ticket into the finals. But no, I think there's a lot to like about North Adelaide, particularly as well when they do play some of those games at Prospect. They're almost, feels like when they're on, they're unbeatable.
And your boys, unfortunately, had a really good start to the game. Went down to the Adelaide Crows 11-10 to 14-17.
You're right, it was a really good start. It's the second time as well that the Dogs have got off to a really good start against North Adelaide. The week before, they were, I think it was 5-1 after the first quarter before the Roosters found their feet and really charged. But there's still a lot to like about the Bulldogs. They're still a developing side. The Crows are healthy. That's the ticket to their success.
Yes.
20, 21 listed players playing again. I suppose the only negative to come out of the Crows from that was Rolly Thilthorpe, who was spotted on crutches at half-time with a bit of a knee injury. So that's since come back to say it's nothing too serious. It's certainly not ACL, and that he's still actually in the mix to play this weekend. But
well, that's good news for Adelaide fans.
That's great news, and he was looking pretty good. 2 goals in the first half.
Yeah, and the likes of Presbury and Trav Schiller just doing the job as they do every week. Do you think they need to blood some youth through that midfield, the Doggies?
Oh, potentially, but just speaking to a couple of Central's officials and players recently as well, the other one, well, Trav Schiller It's almost like a new lease of life. He's had some issues, I think, with his feet last sort of season or so. He is absolutely on fire. Presby's just a very, very good player. So if there's some juniors pushing through who could get a gig inside the midfield, best of luck to them, but I really rate their midfield as it stands right now.
Let's go to the next game, Port Adelaide and Sturt, and the Double Blues got over the line by 13 points, 9-9-63 to 7-8-50. Again, Port started well. They had a little bit stronger this week, a few more players back into that lineup, made them competitive, and Sturt had 5 players pull out before the game with health and safety issues.
Yeah, and that's going to be the theme, isn't it? Particularly for the next probably couple of months. We're going to see players coming in and out left, right and centre through COVID. I know the restrictions and close contact rules are going to be eased this week, which is going to be fantastic. But for Port, the positive, I suppose, was Xavier Dersma. He certainly found some form. Whether he pushes for AFL selection is another story, but they're probably going to get someone back anyway with Miles Bergman, a late pull-out for the AFL side. So Carl Amon probably holds his spot. Does Miles Bergman come back in? Does he go back in the SANFL? So they're going to be strengthened. For Sturt, Paddy Wilson's a gun.
We spoke about it just before we came on air, and he just makes Sturt a lot better, doesn't he?
He's just polished. He is your absolute pin-up type midfielder, and that is this big-bodied midfielder who's seriously skillful. And when he does go up forward, he could quite easily front as a key position player. So he's really finding his feet. Obviously, he was injured last year, and I've got him down. He could be a smoky for the Magarey medal this year.
Oh, and more than the smoky, I think he'll be around the mark. On Sunday, Port Lincoln hosted Norwood and West Adelaide, and we were lucky enough to go over there and call this game. Great atmosphere. There was roughly around sort of 2,500 people there, cars around the ground at one end, a real country atmosphere, beautiful ground, and but Norwood, just far too good. They turned it on.
We were speaking about Norwood the last couple of weeks. Given their start, they've had a couple of really close, sort of tough losses. It's funny, even watching Norwood in the early rounds, you'd say, look, it's a loss, but you wouldn't panic because there's still enough class in there. Jade Rawlings is a really, really good coach, and they just know how to win at the parade. Westies, on the other hand, having a bit of a tough time of it. Injury to Hamish Hartlett, of course, doesn't help. But like you said, as a whole, footy in Port Lincoln, footy in all the country areas, it's just a spectacle, so much fun. Can guarantee it, win or loss. I think both clubs went down the night before and stayed the night.
They certainly did.
And then came the next day. So,
well, they got up for the dawn service as well. So both teams were at the dawn service, which was held across from the hotel, which is, again,
very nice.
Fantastic for the area, and well done to the Norwood Footy Club for hosting down there. I wasn't really wrapped with the flight home. It was the 33-seater and a bit choppy, and they warned us before we took off as well, which made it worse, I think. But we got home safely in the end. Good. Dodged the storm, so well done to the pilot. Big game yesterday, the grand final replay. The Eagles taking on Glenelg at Mortein Kia Oval, and in an absolute thriller, with Reed Cooler kicking the winning goal with about 30 seconds left in the game. The Eagles in front by a point. Ball somehow got out to Reed Cooler, and he snapped on the left boot straight through the middle, and Tigers win the game.
This is, I mean, if you could script a game in terms of excitement and how you'd want just an unbelievable finish, it's exactly this. I mean, 2 of the absolute heavyweights. Probably some question marks on exactly where the Eagles are at, and a loss is a loss. No one likes to lose, but I still feel like Jade Sheeter would give him a fair indication that the Eagles are probably more ahead of where people probably thought they were a couple of weeks ago. And on top of that, the Bays, they just find a way to win in any situation, whether it's a 60-point turnaround against the Crows a couple of weeks ago or digging their way out of this. They're an absolute champion side, and that's why they're up near the pointy end.
They lost a couple of players last year, the Tigers, but they brought in Lyons, they brought in Murdoch. It doesn't look like they've lost too much strength by losing those players. Sam Durden was elite yesterday, and he won the medal. He won the Bob Quinn medal for the best on ground. Fantastic work from him.
And I just wonder if there's a spot somewhere on an AFL that's potential for someone like Sam Durden, particularly if someone like Sam Skinner can manage to get himself back in the system. Sam Durden could absolutely find his feet if he had another crack at the AFL.
All right, let's have a look at the ladder. Hazy and Glenelg sit on top of the ladder. 4 wins, no losses. They've got off to a flying start. Can they go through the season again with just the 1 loss?
I geez, it would be a remarkable effort given some of the games where it could have genuinely gone either way. From the weekend, it would probably suggest that, at some stage the Bays are going to slip up, but they are this side who at no stage have they lost until the final siren goes. So that's so admirable and so, I suppose, hard to get that into your troops, that even like Crows a couple of weeks ago when they're down by an almighty amount, they still found a way to win. So quite rightly they're at the top. I suppose the next one as well is Adelaide. Can they sustain that?
Well, Adelaide have been healthy, so if they stay healthy, they're a very talented side, and they'll stay in the top 5 if they go through with not many injuries, but who knows. So Adelaide in second with 3 wins, Sturt in third with 3 wins, North Adelaide in fourth with 3 wins, and then Nord and the Eagles and South Adelaide 2 and 2. So it's a bit of a bunch there between that group. Or Glenelg have got away a little bit, but it's pretty close after that.
They are still not really sure. It's 4 games in.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that this is absolutely a key indicator of where teams are at, because the Eagles are a better side than 6th in the competition.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll probably give a bit more judgment in maybe 3 or 4 weeks, but like you said, it's nice. There's good, healthy competition.
Yeah,
I thought South Adelaide would be more ahead than that.
Yeah, I think there's probably maybe 7 teams that are legit chances to make the finals. Maybe 8 teams.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. That's about a look at the ladder, and that'll, as you said, that'll fill out as we go along, and that'll work itself out towards the end of the season. But now it's time for everyone's favourite segment. It's time for the bunker with Dan Menzel.
Yes, hello and welcome to this edition of The Bunker. And this edition, what we're going to do is the 3-2-1 MVP Players of the Month. So we've had a month of the SANFL footy so far this season. A lot of good players in this first month. I've had a look at each game and each individual. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 1 vote, 2 vote and 3 votes being the best player of the month. But before we get to that, I'm going to have a look at 3 players that are stiff to miss. Have been extremely good for their sides as this season has gone on. 3 players that are stiff to miss. 1, Riley Knight, had a really good season. Might potentially have 6 McGarry medal votes. Really good for the Eagles. Played a great game on the weekend as well against Glenelg. Second player that's stiff to miss is Nick Rokar for Norwood. He started the season extremely well. Plenty of coaches' votes. Getting a lot of footy in the midfield and averaging plenty of touches as well. The third one who was stiff to miss is Mitch O'Neill. He's probably leading the McGarry votes after 3 rounds, and then obviously missed on the weekend with COVID. So he's the other one that I've got that hasn't quite made it. But let's move to the votes, and let's start with 1 vote. On 1 vote, we have Brett Turner from the Glenelg Footy Club. So I think I've got him down for about 6 McGarry votes after the first 4 rounds. He's averaging 24 disposals a game, 6 tackles a game, and this year he's added goals to his game. So he's kicked 1.5 goals a game, which as a midfielder, if you can average more than 1 goal a game, it is an extremely good trait for your team. And that's what he's doing better this year. Last year, we saw him go into the midfield for Glenelg. He helped out the likes of Partington and Snook. But this year, as you'll see in these clips, he's kicking the ball extremely well. His clearance work has been phenomenal for them. He's getting the ball forward. And not just that, he's getting forward and he's hitting the scoreboard, which is why he's averaging a bit more than 1 a game. So Brett Turner is my 1 vote for this season, and it also explains as to why Glenelg are 4-0 on top of the ladder. They've got a lot of depth through that midfield, but I think that Brett Turner is the standout so far this year, and it's why the Eagles put a lot of work into him on the weekend. Let's get to 2 votes. 2 votes, we have Harrison Wigg for North Adelaide. Now I've got Harrison Wigg on about 6 McGarry votes as well after 2 games. He's averaging 31 disposals a game. That's the most in the competition. To go along with that, 24 of those disposals are kicks. He's obviously such an elite left foot kick, and you'll see in the clips here that he hits a lot of targets that a lot of midfielders can't do. It's extremely valuable, and he's the reason why North Adelaide are 3 wins and a loss so far to start the season. To go along with his 31 disposals a game, he's averaging 9 marks. So they're obviously getting the ball in his hands in good positions, which you'll see here. He's hitting up forwards. And that kick inside 50, that entry or that bridge kick is so important for midfielders. And it's something that he is doing extremely well in the competition and has taken his game to another level this year, which is why I go Harrison Wigg 2 votes in the MVP Players of the Month. And that leads us to number 3, the best player of the first month of SANFL footy. It's hard to go past this guy. He's probably in the coaches' votes for every game. That's Patrick Wilson at Sturt. There's no surprise that Sturt has started the season 3-1. They are playing some really good footy. And this guy, I've probably got him down as 8 McGarry votes as we stand. He's averaging 26 disposals a game, 7 marks a game, 6 tackles a game, and this is the big one for mine. He's averaging 2 goals a game as a midfielder. Hazy touched on it earlier in the show that he's that big body mid. He's extremely difficult to match up on. Get some clearances, but not just that. To be averaging 2 goals a game to go 26 disposals, it makes him an extremely good player, and he's added that extra dimension to that midfield for Sturt this year. And is the reason why they are one of the absolute teams to watch for this season. And if he keeps playing the way he does, he's going to be hard to match up in the middle, but also when he pushes forward, he's another really difficult matchup. It's the reason why I've got Paddy Wilson 3 votes, the best player to start this first month of footy in the SANFL. So there you have it. That's the 3-2-1 MVP Players of the Month. Hopefully, tune in next time. We're going to have the SANFL Top 10 Players of the Month.
Another fantastic bunker from Dan Menzel. A little bit surprised that the SANFL leading goal kicker didn't make the top 3.
It is very, very surprising, isn't it? Because if someone is good enough to average 4 goals a game and really plant themselves with a bit of distance between second, you'd think they'd get a vote. But unfortunately, not so for Dan Menzel, although it would have been an awkward segment for Dan Menzel to talk about Dan Menzel.
Pride got in the way. Anyway, let's look at this week's games. The Bulldogs take on the Eagles first up on Saturday at 2:10. Out of Ex-Convenience Oval. Who do you like here, mate?
Well, you'd be, unfortunately, from my point of view, and you know how much I love the Dogs, you have to go for the Eagles. You'd be mad to tip against the Eagles in this one. The Bulldogs are showing some good signs. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to put 4 quarters together. The Eagles are building nicely. Jimmy Toumpas is back as well. Probably rushed in a little bit quicker than he would have liked. I think he was a late in from the reserves on the weekend, but 28 disposals, so he looks really, really good. So the Eagles are just going to get better and better, which is bad news for the Dogs.
Does a 5-day break come into it at all?
What? Perhaps against some other sides, but you'd still comfortably back Woodville times.
Okay, and then at Saturday at 5-5 at Hyacinth Stadium, the Bloods take on the Roosters.
Another tough match for the Bloods. Fortunately, I got a soft spot for West Adelaide as well. It could be a bit of a long year for Gotchi and the troops down there, particularly with Hamish Hartnett missing. And the Roosters, who knows what they're capable of this year, but that's going to be a comfortable result, you would think, to North Adelaide.
You would think. Special mention to Caden Brand down back for the Bloods. He was elite in Port Lincoln.
Yeah, he's a very good player.
Big plus to West Adelaide.
Absolutely, and I think 13 points was the difference between the Eagles and West Adelaide, and Caden Brand wasn't playing. So who knows what sort of difference that could have made.
Next game is down at Flinders University on Sunday at just after 12 o'clock. The Panthers taking on the Adelaide Crows.
Probably won't have Riley Thilthorpe, the Crows, and who knows what sort of changes they'll get if there are too many changes. I think there was too many injuries at all in the AFL side, so they're still going to be pretty strong. It's just a different world down there at Flinders University Stadium. Who knows? It could be wind and rain coming up somehow underneath the soil, which sometimes happens at Noarlunga. Geez, the Panthers are due for a win, and they play really well at home.
Wind coming up from the soil?
Sometimes.
Okay.
I swear that's done it a couple of times. It's a different planet.
The next game is at Glenelg, 2 o'clock on Sunday. Glenelg taking on Port Adelaide.
The big question for the Bays is how much did that clash on the weekend against the Eagles take out of them? Port Adelaide are going to be strengthened as well.
Yes.
Someone's going to have to come back because Miles Bergman either plays in the AFL or he comes back to the SANFL, so they're going to be a little bit stronger than before. In saying that, they're a champion side and you'd be pretty brave to tip against the Bays.
Especially at home. Probably the match of the round, Hazy, is the Double Blues taking on the Redlegs at Wigan Oval.
I don't know which way you'd tip this one. Both sides showing some really, really good form. The fact that it is at Sturt's home ground as well, it's a very, very unique ground. Very small ground and they play it so, so well, but I honestly am split in which way I'd go with this one. Who have you got?
It's tough. I'm going to go the Double Blues only because they lost their last home game to Glenelg there. So I think they'll bounce back and protect their turf.
And the other thing about giving tips early in the week is health and safety protocols play a fun role
They do.
in really ruining your tips when you do them early.
All right, let's now time to go to the eliminator.
Yes, and welcome to the Eliminator. The great news is we are all still alive. We've been through 3 weeks, and so I'm going to pick again today. Hazy's going to pick, and we've got Bonds in as our celebrity pick. So he's going to inherit Nida's previous picks, which was Eagles, North and Sturt. I've currently used South Adelaide, Eagles and Adelaide, and Hazy's used South, Eagles and North. So it starts to make it trickier with only 7 teams left to be able to be picked. And so if we have a look at the games, we throw them up on the screen there. There is some tough matchups this week, and there's not that many obvious ones. So I'm going to throw to you boys first. I'm going to throw to you, Hazy. Who are you thinking out of these 5 matchups you might go with?
It would have been easy for me to say the Eagles against the Bulldogs, but like you said, Mans, can't do that because they've already been selected. I've already used the Roosters as well. That would have been a reasonably easy selection against the Bloods. So it's either between the Bays or the Crows for me. Haven't used the Bays, so that's my ticket. I'm going to say the Bays to beat Port Adelaide.
Taking the easy option there, Hazy. Well done. Because I'm tipping for Nida, I'm going to tip West Adelaide this week. No, I'm not going to do that. I won't do that.
It's a brave call. Sometimes you've got to be brave, Bonds.
No, but I am going for their opposition. I'm going to go for North Adelaide to beat West. Speaking of relatively easy picks, but you never know. Footy, it's a strange game. But I will go for North Adelaide to beat West Adelaide. Dan, what have you got for us?
Yes, North Adelaide is one that I was certainly looking at as well. I haven't used them as well, but I think I'm going to go Glenelg. I saw firsthand on the weekend how good they are. They're playing Port. I want to stay alive in this competition, so I'm going to go Glenelg, which means that Glenelg is mine. Hazy's gone Glenelg, and our celebrity pick, Bonds, has gone with North Adelaide.
Come to the end of the show, Hazy. Thanks for having me along, boys. It's been good fun. And thanks again to our sponsor, iPerform Sports Injury Clinic.
Absolutely. Another good show. So thank you very much for jumping in, Bonds.
Pleasure.
And if you have an opportunity this weekend, make sure you get out and about, go see your local side, get out and see some local football because crowds have been really good.
Been fantastic. Yeah, really good.
Atmosphere has been fantastic. I got to North Adelaide game a couple of weeks ago and kids everywhere. Little son got his face painted. It's fantastic. So yeah, go out and support some local footy.
See you next time on Talking SANFL.